friend, Sarah Gaston here. Listen, thank you so much for joining me. Today I want to address a question that I get asked with some frequency, which is some version of the following. Should I move to LA? Should I move to New York? Fill in the blank. It's a big one, people. Here is the thing. There is nothing magical about moving to another market. Yes, there are different opportunities, maybe more opportunities, certainly more opportunities to train, and certainly, depending on what's going on in the world, there might be more work in a particular market. That doesn't mean necessarily you're going to work more once you are in said market. So there are some things that I want you to think about. First of all, do you want to live there? Do you want to live in the place? Because we have this fantasy sometimes, I think, that I'm going to move to another market and all I'm going to be doing is auditioning and working the whole time. And when I say working, of course, I mean working in the business. What happens is that I know a lot of people who have, for example, moved to Los Angeles and they don't ever actually bother getting an agent. Odd, right? Actors moving to Los Angeles and not getting an agent. They may take classes, they may take workshops, they may enjoy going to the beach, but they're actually not doing anything to further their career because once they've gotten out there, I don't know, inertia set in, or they had such a good time surfing the waves or whatever, but they forgot the purpose of being out there. Because as one agent said years ago, Los Angeles is a little bit like Disneyland for adults. And I get it. I mean, the weather is beautiful and there's the beach and there's hiking and there's so many things to do, but you have to remember why you're there. Alternatively, I have known people that say move to New York, and guess what? They never work either because maybe they're working 4 or 5 jobs just to pay the bills. So they don't even have time to audition, much less try to get a job. All right, now that's not the case for everybody. I know people who work in both cities, but it's easy to get caught up in the romance or the allure of going to one of the big coasts versus working regionally, which is what a lot of people do, because there's this idea that, well, if I go out there, then all of a sudden I'll be a real actor, or all of a sudden I'm going to work. And that's just not the case. And in fact, a lot of times, if you are a regional actor, sometimes you can book more because they're going to be smaller parts, and leads and large supporting roles tend to be cast out of one of the major cities, right? Los Angeles or New York. I'm not saying don't move to LA. I'm not saying don't move to New York. What I'm saying is be really clear about why you're moving and what you plan to make happen when you get there, okay? Be real clear about how much it's going to cost to live there and what kind of job you can get to comfortably sustain a lifestyle that you find bearable. Figure out what transportation is going to be like. Figure out how much time and energy you're going to be able to devote to actually pursuing acting work once you're in that city. If I know people who work in Los Angeles or they live in Los Angeles, but maybe they got a job doing touring promotions. Well, they're touring the country doing promotional work, so they're never going to be in Los Angeles to actually audition for anything, right? So LA is lovely, New York is lovely, both wonderful places. Go out there, but understand what you're getting into. Also, I really suggest doing a little inspection trip. Go out there for a month. 2 months is even better. Sublet an apartment. Get an idea of what day-to-day life is like in that city. I've had friends that have done that. I certainly, I've spent lengthy amounts of time in Los Angeles. I don't live there currently, but I will go out for months at a time and, do what I can do when I'm out there. And then I come back to my regional market and I work here. So I do both. Will I live in Los Angeles full time? Maybe after the pandemic. Who can say? I don't know the future. But the bottom line is, know what you're getting into, okay? I had a dear friend who moved to New York City because that's what actors do. And he lived there about 7 months, and he hated it, hated it, hated it. So after he made the big move to New York, he ended up making the big move to Los Angeles, and he's been there ever since, right? He could have saved himself a lot of time, a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache. Now, granted, he still had that experience, right? So he doesn't ever have to regret not having done it, but he just didn't know what he was getting into, all right? The other thing you have to do this. I'm not even going to make this a suggestion. You have to do this. Be intentional about building a life for yourself that has nothing to do with the business. Now, that doesn't mean you don't devote ample time and energy to the business, but, join a hiking club, or, get involved in a local church in one of these cities, or, the chess club, or, plan on volunteering somewhere, or plan on, camping once a month, to some place that's close by or whatever. But make a point of living a really rich, interesting, involved life while you're there. Again, whether it's for a month or whether it's for longer term, because you are going to need things that sort of feed your soul, because this is a tough, tough business, and it can run you down. Even more so when you're in one of the bigger markets, because it is hustle, hustle, hustle all the time. It's very competitive. People sometimes don't necessarily want a real human connection. They might just kind of want to see if you can help them, and if you can't, they move on. So find ways to ground yourself and to fuel yourself while you're in these markets, and in fact, plan it before you go, so that you're just not gobbled up by the hustle and bustle and the preoccupation with when's my next audition, when's my next booking, when's my next role, is it big enough, is it good enough, am I making enough money, oh my gosh, how am I going to make my rent, oh my gosh, I've got to take this terrible temporary job, or I've got to take this terrible extra job that I don't want to take because I've got to figure out a way to pay the bills. Just set yourself up for success before you go. Okay, that is my 2 cents. I wish I had more, but unfortunately, inflation does not apply to deep, long, hard-earned wisdom, which I've given you just now. Anyway, my friends, that's all I've got for you today. Couple of suggestions. Please, I suggest you sign up for my YouTube channel. Why? You know why. Because you'll get notifications anytime I drop a new video, and I don't always send out any sort of marketing or advertising when I drop a new video, but you'll always get them straight into your inbox or notification on your phone if you are a subscriber. And I always like to share stuff with you guys. I like to share interviews. I like to share conversations about the business, and I like to share bits of, wisdom and relevant topics with you. And then if you want the juicy, juicy, juicy juju, I suggest you sign up for my email list, www.sarahgastonnoh.com, because there are things that I share on my email list that I don't share anywhere else. And I want you to have the benefit of that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. And as always, break a leg out there.